we look towards esports organizations nowadays, and we look to partnerships and sponsorships, and some sponsorships don't really make a lot of sense for an organization. And I guess, from your experience and from your understanding and maybe even your approach and mindset towards it, is it just worth to take whatever partnership, whatever sponsorship you can get? Is it important to symbolize with the brand and have sort of a joint interest, or is it just a matter of trying to get as much funding as possible?
Look, that's very individual, and by individual, I mean the sport organization itself. It's very
Yeah.
individualized in that sense. Some esports organizations are in a fantastic position where they can choose brand partnerships and sponsorships in relation to who they are as an organization.
Yeah.
And they have that ability to say, look, no, we're not interested because that doesn't align with our timeline or our methods or our beliefs. Other organizations are just not in that position to negotiate yes or a no.
Yeah.
It's we need something just to survive.
Yeah.
And the common person in esports will understand that and recognize it. I can think of a handful of things off the top of my head that I saw partnerships that just don't make any sense.
Mm.
But there's always more to face value.
Yeah.
There's always more to that. You know, especially, the whole crypto involvement with esports and the crossover,
Mm.
the metaverse, Web
Mm.
3, it's an understandable. Sure, they may not align with the core value, but you have to understand from a business point of view, there is upside to that. Sure, you might cop a bit of a hit on the socials, your engagement might be a bit lower, or it
Mm.
might be even higher, but it's not the reaction you may want it.
Yeah.
Regardless, you've got to at some point stand back from a consumer and start putting yourself in a business set of shoes and to say, look, all right, maybe the business is struggling. Maybe they needed that flux of cash. Maybe this partnership paid up front, if that ever happens. But if they do, don't forget to call me. But, it's these things, it's very relative to esport organization situation events.
Mm.
So some might make sense, some might not. A good example is TSM and FTX prior to the crash, right? That it didn't really make sense. A TSM such a large global brand, very renowned, very respectable, very well built, very well maintained. Why go and do a deal with, you know, a crypto? Well, again, look at it from a business side, although the ending I'm sure was not what anyone ever expected.
Mm.
You have to look at it from a business point of view. Maybe they needed the money, maybe they wanted to do a venture, maybe they had an idea that they had in concept, they wanted to put in production.
Mm.
There's multiple things you can think of. So although it may not make sense to the consumer, to the fan, at the point in time you have to understand organizations, although they're for the fans, they're also a business.
Yeah.
Have to start looking at it a bit like that. But it comes and go. There's also some really good partnerships. Some that make a lot of sense, and it's one of those things. You see organizations partnering with Nike because they're going to do a nice apparel line. Well, that
Mm.
makes sense. Nike or Adidas or Puma. Lacoste, anyone, Ralph Lauren, like that's Louis Vuitton. It makes complete sense. Stuff like that makes sense, but you also have to look at a financial set as well. So look, it goes both ways, but there's definitely some scenarios where it does make sense, and others you just shake your head and wonder what went on there. But it's all for something. It's never for nothing.
Yeah, for sure. And almost the way that I sort of look at it is, say, for example, you are a new esports organization and you can sort of reach for whatever you want to get, reach for a little bit of funding here or a little bit of there, whatever it is. And you can use that funding to build a team. And then that team can be accelerated into a new level and they can reach a new major or they can go to worlds, and that'll maybe bring about new sponsorships and partnerships which may be more closely aligned, right? So it's almost like using that as an investment into the team with the end goal to have better partnerships and
Mm,
different partnerships.
yep. Agreed. Agreed.
For sure.
Agreed.
Definitely.